Okay, in this video, we're going to create a script that renames our selected assets in the content browser, adds the appropriate prefix based on the asset class, and then moves them to a folder organized by class type under the parent asset. It's going to be based on the asset action utility class. And once we add that to the project and try to compile, of course, we'll get a build fail, and we'll have to go into our IDE and edit the Build.cs file. So here we are in Rider. We need to go into our Build.cs file, and we need to do two things. We need to tell Unreal to load our Blutility module so it can access all those features. And we also need to tell it where that module is. And I'll post both of these paths in the description for the video. And with that sorted, we'll start work on our first function. We'll give it the view function :editor meta tag. It'll be void. We don't need it to return anything. And we'll just call it publish selected assets. And it'll take in two F strings, the removal name and the publish asset name. And we'll just create a definition. Okay, first things we're going to need to do here are to build an array of our selected assets. We'll keep that type as UObject, and we can use the EditorUtility library function, getSelectedAssets, for this. When I start typing this in, please notice that Rider is going to automatically add the appropriate header file right there, so make sure you add that include. Next, we're going to want to iterate through each of the assets in our array, and we can use a simple for loop to do that. So for each of our selected objects, UObjects, in the selected assets array. And we'll need an F string variable to store our new asset name. And we'll also need to get our current asset name to operate on. We'll store that as an F string variable as well. Now we're going to use a series of if statements to make minor changes to the asset name until we're happy with the result. So first, we're going to remove anything that we don't like in the name. And we can simply parse the name with the contains string function inside Unreal. And if we find a matching substring, we're going to use the replace function. We'll create an empty string here first, and that's what we'll actually use to replace the substring. Replace is going to take in two parameters. It's going to take in the search parameter from in the whatever you want to change it to, which is going to be our empty string in this case. Okay, that's the removal. And now we'll just set that to be our new asset name. Because our script can do a few different things, we need to know if the user has even input a published asset name. And if they have, we need to make sure we're adding that into our new asset name variable. We'll add an underscore here and the original asset name. And if both the publish name and the remove name are empty, we still want to add the asset prefix and publish to the correct folder. But we're going to need to continue using the original asset name. And so we need to make sure that we're not leaving new asset name variable empty. Right now, when we declared it, there was nothing in it. So we can just call isEmpty on those strings to test. To add the prefix, we're going to use a map variable, which is going to take our input asset class and map that to a string that we're going to set up in our header file. This can be private, and it's going to be a const tmap, taking the type uClass pointer and an f string. We'll call it prefix map, and here we'll add some mapping. So for each class, we're going to give it a corresponding string of characters. So for static mesh, we'll take the static class and we'll say that our string is going to be SM underscore. Next, we can do a U texture and take the static class, and our prefix for that will just be T underscore. Of course, we're going to do a texture 2D as well. Again, static class. We'll also use the T prefix here. And let's also do blueprints, static class. Of course, that's BP underscore. And that's a good little, there's a lot more classes we could do, but this gives you an idea. And you can just set the prefix to be whatever is conducive with your studio. Back in our CPP file, we're going to set an f-string variable called prefix to be equal to our output from our prefix map. We're going to find the corresponding value when we input the selected object class as a key. Next, let's do a quick test to ensure that we've got a prefix and that the prefix string isn't empty. So we can use an if function here, and we can call ensure. And if we pass both of those tests, we also want to make sure that we don't already have the correct prefix on this asset. So we'll do a nested if statement here and just test the starts with on the string. And if we pass all of those tests, then we can assign the prefix. We can append that to the front of our new name asset and set that as the new name asset variable. I also want to add one more quick test here to make sure that we're not ending with a underscore or a space. And we can do a quick ends with test on our new asset name. And if that comes back true, we can do a left chop for one space and just remove the last character in the name. And the final step in the rename is just to use our editor utility library to call rename asset. And then we just pass in our selected object and our new asset name string. Okay, so that's the renaming, but we still want to organize these into the appropriate folders. So to do that, we need to put in a new parameter for our function. That'll be another F string, and we'll call that parent folder. I'll need to do a quick refactor here to update the signature. We also need to load a new module for this next part, as we will be using the... So back in our Build.cs file, we're going to add a module called EditorScriptingUtilities. And this has the function that's going to allow us to move files in the actual folder structure. So since we want all of our assets to be relative to the game parent folder, first we're going to test to see if that is the parent folder for the assets, and if it's not, we're going to add that to the path name. So again, we can just test what it starts with and /game. And if it is not, we're going to set path combine. We're going to add /game plus whatever the parent folder currently is. And that'll be our new parent folder. And next we need two more paths, or strings that will be paths. We're going to need one for the folders that we want to create, and then we need another for the location that we want to move the assets to, which will be inside those folders that we've just created. So new folder path is going to be equal to the parent folders plus the selected object class. The new path for the assets is going to be equal to the parent folder, the selected object class name, and the object's name. And this will all make sense once you see it in action. Oh, and I messed up on the new path folder. We also need to include the get name of the class. And with those two strings built, we can simply test if those folders already exist. And there's a function for that. Does directory exist? And we'll give that the new path folder. And if it does not, we will make that directory. And then after we've done that, we can rename loaded assets, which is a feature of the editor asset library. And this is a move. This functions like a move those assets into the path that we give it. And with that done, let's compile and pop into Unreal to see if we can organize some assets. Okay, here we go. We'll just go into the import folder and select these. Scripted action, publish, parent folder, we're going to tell this where we want to publish to. So game/assets/flowchart. Oh, okay. And you can see we created these folders, and we have our asset, we've got material, static mesh, and textures, and then all of the correct assets have been placed in their corresponding folder. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks a lot, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments.